Let's go to Mark 10, verse 46. Because of this first sentence now, this story might seem much more relevant to each and every one of you. So it says, now they came to Jericho. Okay. So we are all here for a reason, and we are all here because we had to come here. But now it says, as he went out of Jericho with his disciples and a great multitude, blind Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, sat by the road begging. And when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Okay, then many warned him to be quiet. Some translations uses the word rebuked him. They told him to shut up, But he cried out all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. So Jesus stood still and commanded him to be called. Then they called the blind man, saying to him, be of good cheer, rise, he is calling you. And throwing aside his garment, he rose and came to Jesus. So Jesus answered and said to him, what do you want me to do for you? The blind man said to him, Rabbi, that I may receive my sight. Then Jesus said to him, go your way, your faith has made you well. And immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus on the road. So now we are all at Jericho. And we are not here because our lives were perfect. No, that's a fact. We need to come to the realization that something has to change. Something has to give. And it's not a small change that has to be made. It's a huge transformation from the old into the new that has to take place now. None of us can do that on our own. So we need to cry out to Jesus, or we need to call out to Jesus to help us make these changes. But what happened here is when this blind man called out to Jesus, he was rebuked. They warned him, they told him to shut up. But when we face some struggles, or when we face some tribulations and things are not going the way we want them to go, and the situations or the circumstances rebuke us, or they try to get you down, what do we do? Do we back down, or do we continue and fighting the good fight, doing what we are supposed to do? In gambling terms, they would summarize this as the odds were stacked against him. And what do you do in life when the odds are stacked against you? When it doesn't look like things are going to work out. A lot of things in life that won't work out because it started the wrong way. It's difficult to take a bad thing and turn it into a good thing. Why can't we just get rid of the bad and start getting good? Now, another thing that happened here is he said, Son of David, have mercy on me. That's having compassion He said, Jesus, will you reach out to me? When we cry out for him to reach out to us, we shouldn't allow any stumbling block to affect that process. When people will rebuke you, or if a situation will appear impossible, do we listen to that situation, or do we reach out to Jesus? The third thing about this scenario is in verse 50, Jesus called him, and then it says here, and throwing aside his garment, he rose and came to Jesus. So that garment was this blind man's license to beg. That garment represent him as a beggar. Not anyone could beg in those days. You had to get a license. You had to be approved to be a beggar. That is what that garment represented. And then it says here, throwing aside his garment, he went to Jesus. But in our lives, when we reach out, we don't throw away our garments. We keep it here. Because what if this reaching out doesn't work? I want to get my garment again. I want to be safe again. I want to be a beggar again. Or I want to be selfish again. I want to depend on something else than what I'm reaching out to. I want to depend on something that I can see. There's a little bit of comfortability in a garment, It will keep you comfortable. It will keep you warm. But that's not the desire of God for you to sit and beg or to sit and struggle, A beggar might get some money without working for it, But a beggar will never have a nice life. A beggar will only survive from day to day. And that is what we've been doing in addiction, surviving from day to day. But now it's time to take that garment and to put it aside, or to throw it aside. Not leaving it where you can get it again. So now, when our situations in life or your circumstance tells you that things are not good enough, you are not good enough, things will not work out, if your circumstances rebuke you, do you back down, or do you keep on reaching out? Because if you back down, it means that you are choosing that garment again. It means that you are choosing circumstances where you feel comfortable in, rather than God's will for your life. Then it says here, then Jesus said to him, go your way, have faith, your faith has made you well. And immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus on the road. So in our lives, there will be this momentarily breakthroughs. Something will happen, and in that moment, you will know that Jesus is really alive. And most of you have had one of those experiences. When that experience happens, you are filled with fire and a desire to do good. But if you're not going to keep on chasing it, living the way you should, that experience will fade into a memory where you will question yourself, was that really Jesus? Maybe it was just a situation, maybe I just got lucky. That happened in my life a lot. And in all of your lives, I'm sure it also has happened. Sometimes we need to realize that we are blind. Sometimes we need to realize that we can't walk on our own. We are blind. We need someone else to lead us into the right way. So sometimes we need to realize that we are blind, or that we were blind, before we have the humility to ask for healing. Because none of you will ask for healing if you think there's nothing wrong. And in life, we will come to a point where if something's wrong, you will realize it. The wrong thing can't hide away forever. The wrong thing will always rise to the surface in your life, in situations, in circumstances. And the earlier in life we discover we need healing, the more progress we can make. If you don't realize that something's wrong, and if you don't realize that you need healing in an area, you won't be able to heal in that area. And then time will go by, and you might only discover at a later stage you need healing in that area, and then you will need to live with consequences of realizing it a bit too late. I want to go through some facts in life and things that we all know or should know. The first fact is that we do not have presentable pasts. We've messed up in life. We are all suffering some sort of consequence for some sort of choice we have made. Another fact is that there's a lot of bad things that happens in the world, and there's a lot of bad things that has happened to us. Disabilities are facts. Struggling circumstances are facts. But let me mention 3 truths now. Then we'll discover the difference between a fact and a truth. So the first truth is in Romans 8:28, where it says, all things will work together for the good of those who love him and who will walk according to his purpose. The second truth is that no temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and with every temptation, he will also provide a way of escape so that you may be able to bear it. That's 1 Corinthians 10 verse 30. The last one is in Hebrews 13 verse 8, where it says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Those things will never change. Facts might change. The one day you might be struggling. The next day you might be doing better. Just one simple fact, Today's Friday. That's a fact. No one can change the fact that today's Friday. But tomorrow's Saturday. Then the fact of today being a Friday is irrelevant anymore. And there's a lot of facts in our lives and in our pasts that we hang on to, but we need to not forget about them, but we should rather focus on reaching for the truth.